On this episode of Doing the Most, we'll be making a lemon drop hydromel.
Homemade brews and various how-tos, everything from mead to roast, bake creation, fermentation, inebriation, doing the most.
This recipe is incredibly simple, and hopefully you can have this done and ready to drink before summer is over. The ingredients for our lemon drop hydromel are 6 pounds of orange blossom honey, 2 lemons worth of zest and juice, 5 grams of wine tannin, water to 4.5 gallons, and D47 yeast. In secondary, we'll be adding 1 32-ounce bottle of lemon juice and 2 pounds of honey to backsweeten after stabilizing. If you'll be bottle conditioning, you'll want to backsweeten instead with erythritol to taste and then prime with a priming sugar like dextrose. Our batch will be going into a keg. First thing you're going to want to do is zest your lemons, and I have this handy dandy zester. I'll make sure to put a link to this in the description. The reason we like this one is because it has a little measuring thing on the back that lets you know how much zest you got. The zest is going to go directly into primary into our filtered water, and you may have to fight with it a little bit to get it through your funnel. As I mentioned, this is a very simple no fuss recipe. Then make sure to squeeze out all the juice from those lemons. I have this fancy antique juicer from my great-grandmother. We'll just slowly press that down and then pour all of that lemon juice in. Now, as I mentioned, that 32-ounce bottle of lemon juice you see there is going in secondary. More on that later. Weigh out your honey. I'm going to be weighing this out in 2 parts, both 3 pounds, and just microwaving it lightly to loosen up some of the crystallization so that way I can pour it in. Then we're going to get a swirl going in the carboy and add our honey. Repeating here with the other half of my honey. Then once all the honey's been able to drain out of your funnel, give it a good stir again to get things moving. And then just let that sit and come together for a half an hour or so. Then we'll be adding our wine tannin and pitching our yeast. I chose D47 for this because it's a pretty no-nonsense yeast and it should cut through this within about a week. Give that a good swirl, and then I'm putting a paper towel on top to let it breathe as fermentation gets started. The next day, I added 1 teaspoon of diammonium phosphate, which should be enough nutrient to churn this sucker through to completion. About a week and a half later, this had finished fermenting, so I added the bottle of lemon juice and then used potassium metabisulfite and potassium sorbate by package instructions in order to stabilize. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, if you don't want to stabilize this, you could backsweeten with the sugar alcohol erythritol. It's a non-fermentable sweetener derived from corn, and yeast can't eat it, so you can backsweeten with it, and then you can prime with a priming sugar like dextrose to bottle condition this hydromel so you get a nice sparkle. However, I stabilized mine because it's going into a keg. 48 hours after stabilizing, I gave it a nice swirl just to get things moving ever so gently, and added 2 pounds of warmed wildflower honey to backsweeten. Our Sparkolloid goes in on top of that to clarify. Then we left on vacation for a week. When we returned, it was crystal clear and time to go into the keg. If backsweetening with erythritol, this would be the best time to do that, and it's easiest to do that by making it into a kind of warm, simple syrup and then adding it by taste until you like it. I would start with probably 1 cup in a 5-gallon batch and then see where you need to go with it from there. And then once the flavor is where you want it, you could prime with priming sugar and then bottle using crown caps just as you would with a beer. Ours is going into this keg, and it will go under 40 psi for about 24 hours with some intermittent shaking to make sure it carbonates up. And then a few days later, Man-Made Mead swung by, so I asked him if he wanted to do a tasting.
So, we'll pour these off. While our mugs are still somewhat ice. So it's clear, it's carbonated. I did a light carbonation on it. It's probably about like 2.8-ish volumes.
The nose and the taste are pretty different. The nose to me, it's very muted. Like I'm getting like the lemon. I feel like the beginning of a lemon is always just like a punch in the face. It's just like your mouth puckers up.
Yeah.
It's very smooth for one. It's a good mix of acidity between a lemon and an orange.
Have you ever had Skeeter Pee? I've got a keg of it over here. We We should give that a try after the camera turns off. I feel like the lemon in a Skeeter Pee is so forward. And I wanted this to have that honey richness without that being washed away.
Did you add anything for body? Because it got a very full.
There's a little bit of
full
tannin
bite.
in there.
To me, most of the time when you hit that 7% mark, you're flat. Even with carbonation, sometimes you can still feel like it starts off feeling full because of the carbonation, but then once that fades, you're stuck with watery. But it's not watery.
Overall, I'm very happy.
I like it. I honestly, I could do. This is one of those that like I could do a bunch of classes.
Dangerous.
It is. Yeah. The smoothest to me is very well. It doesn't have a lot of alcohol hit.
Right.
And I think that's what's dangerous about hydromel sometimes. If you do it well, then you're just drinking. You're drinking your lemonade. And I feel like I got the slightest bit of yeast smell to me.
This is fairly young.
Yeah.
I think typically you would want to serve this at like 2 or 3 months, but I think a 22-day turnaround.
No, this is great.
I'm very happy with this. I agree with you that there's still a little bit of yeastiness in there, but I think here in a week or two that will have mellowed out.
Yeah.
And we'll just be in flavor now. So. Okay, so Margaret's gonna try it.
It smells super good.
She's here to work on her piment.
Ooh, that's good. But that's like, no, you're getting a lot of honey out of this.
Yeah.
I like it.
There's 2 pounds of honey to backsweeten it, so.
Well, you're definitely, that was.
Honey is prominent.
No, that's so good.
Does it taste young or yeasty?
No, it definitely tastes like a honey lemonade. Like I wouldn't even think this was alcoholic at all.
That's the goal. That's
really
the plan.
good.
I consider this recipe to be done. After a lot of testing and trial and error, I think this is the fastest way to rush a lemon drop hydromel from yeast pitch to keg. And with it really coming into its prime at 4 to 6 weeks, bottle conditioning is not a terrible option for this. I know I will be trying out the bottle condition method soon. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Instagram and Pinterest at Doing the Most OK. If you'd like to invest in the channel, check out our member page. You can become a Doing the Most VIP for just $4.99 a month, and it comes with all kinds of cool benefits, including some behind the scenes footage. Until next time, happy brewing.